Today on Investigate TV Plus, Americans are struggling to afford basic needs and looking to social services for help. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. While thousands get the support they need, some say the helpline needs a lifeline of its own.
Do I pay a bill or do I feed my kids?
We have an in-depth look at efforts to meet demand.
We need bodies to answer those calls unless, people are just going to be left waiting on hold.
Plus, banned from the ballot box. Millions of Americans can't vote because of their past.
When I got locked up, I was going into my senior year of high school.
Hear from a man who served his time and is now advocating for others to regain the right to vote.
You gotta raise up your voice and say, I want a real second chance.
Then, help for an iconic American symbol. We have a bird's eye view of a bald eagle rehabilitation hospital that's encouraging animal conservation.
I want to set them up to succeed back in the wild.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus. 911 is the number you call in a life or death emergency, but what about emergencies that threaten your livelihood?
People who are about to lose their homes can't afford to feed their kids or pay their bills. That's where 211 comes in. It's a number that connects those in need to resources that can help them make ends meet. And it's seeing a surge in calls nationwide.
Reporter Kristen Crowley shows us the growing need for 211 services and why the important number needs some help of its own.
We got 6 kids and we got 6 grandkids.
Making ends meet is something Tracy Dixon is used to doing. But lately, it's been more challenging than ever.
With the COVID changing everything and the prices being raised, it was becoming more of a struggle than usual.
Tracy and her wife both work full-time. Tracy's a certified nursing assistant, her wife a nursing home cook. Their average monthly expenses from 2022 to 2023 went from about $2,500 a month to $3,500.
Were you living paycheck to paycheck?
Still to this day, we live paycheck to paycheck. And honestly, it's not even paycheck to paycheck. I would say it's penny to penny.
After falling behind on rent, she was faced with a decision she never thought she'd have to make.
Do I pay a bill or do I feed my kids? It was literally going to be us being homeless and not having nothing to support our family.
It was at that point a relative told her about 211.
Thank you for calling United with 211.
A number she could call to get directed to resources in her area that could help.
What was 211 able to do for you?
They connected us to the Salvation Army, the Community Service League, some food banks, some other churches that's willing out there to help.
Did you know those places existed?
No, I did not.
211 has been around in some communities for decades, but in 2000, the FCC designated it as the 3-digit number for information and referrals to social services and assistance with things like healthcare and disaster recovery. In 2020, roughly 30 states designated 211 as the COVID response crisis line. And in 2023, it handled nearly 9,000 calls related to the devastating Maui fires, as people who lost everything looked for help on where to turn. Now that Tracy has connected with local services, her cupboards are full.
It's from the food bank.
Her rent is paid, and her mind is at ease.
It was like a whole 1,000 pounds lifted off my chest.
The weight of financial struggles hangs heavy on many Americans, and a growing number of them are searching for relief by turning to 211.
211 as a nationwide network handles about 50,000 calls a day.
Is call volume with 211 at a record high?
For us, it is.
Todd Jordan is the executive director for 211 for the United Way of Greater Kansas City. Most 211 programs are run by United Way, and many of them are seeing people with the same issues.
I need help with my rent or mortgage, to I'm facing eviction and I need legal assistance, to, hey, I'm on the street or somebody who I care about is on the street, we need access to a shelter.
In Missouri, 45% of the calls to 211 were for housing help, which equaled more than 119,000 calls, a 26% increase from 2022. Whether it's the Midwest, the South, the Northeast, or the Pacific Northwest, people struggling to afford where they live dominate 211 call centers. Wyoming, Washington, Georgia, and Pennsylvania all saw increases in 2023 compared with 2022, all of them by at least 10%. There's also a growing need for help paying utilities and buying food. Jordan says the reason is simple.
The impacts of inflation, higher prices, the reductions in benefits that have come that as the pandemic relief begins to, ebb out.
Is there a strain put on 211 when you see such a spike like that?
Most certainly. We have community resource navigators live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and their job is to answer the calls and do the best they can.
And Jordan says 211 needs help itself meeting the need.
The number of calls that we're getting are constantly increasing year over year. From 2019 to 2022, we had a 35% increase in calls. We need bodies to answer those calls unless, people are just going to be left waiting on hold. And those are things that the HELP Act can address.
The Bipartisan HELP Act, introduced to Congress in May of 2023, would provide $2.2 billion to 211 from 2024 to 2030. Lawmakers say the funding will strengthen the system and improve its ability to help people. Jordan says right now, 211 gets no federal or state funding. It relies entirely on the United Way groups that run it. A co-sponsor of the HELP Act, Senator Jerry Moran of Kansas, told us the legislation is key not only because it would help answer the growing calls for help, but because it would ensure that states have resources available to invest in diverting non-medical emergency calls away from 911. An issue Jordan says happens because people in dire need of the help 211 provides don't know the number exists. Tracy was one of those people.
If I would have known about 211 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, life would have been a lot easier. You wouldn't have to struggle so much.
Jordan hopes, since the HELP Act has bipartisan support, that lawmakers will vote on it in 2024 and pass the legislation. If it doesn't come up for a vote, the start date of the funding can be adjusted.
The HELP Act also includes support for 988, the nation's suicide and crisis hotline. From its launch in July 2022 through December 2023, the service has received and routed more than 8 million calls and messages.
Still ahead, a serious condition threatened a man's happiness.
Sometimes I wondered if I shouldn't just sit for the entire day and not even bother to get up.
Then his doctor recommended a solution that no one else at the hospital had tried.
It was pretty much our last option.
Coming up, see what gave him the strength to take back control of his life.
But first, the right to vote for felons who have completed their sentence isn't guaranteed in certain states, and some believe it's a tactic to limit access to the ballot box.
Why are you holding people back from voting? Because they're probably going to vote a way that you don't want them to vote.
We examine the impacts on marginalized communities and why advocates call voting an important part of the rehabilitation process.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime online. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Investigate TV. You can catch stories and full episodes. Millions of U.S. citizens are barred from exercising one of this country's most important rights, the right to vote.
The reason? Felony convictions. According to the Sentencing Project, a nonprofit that advocates for restoration of voting rights, in 2022, 1 out of 50 people of voting age was disenfranchised due to a felony conviction, and the rate was 3.5 times higher among Black Americans. Advocates say the policies stem from the Jim Crow era and efforts to limit access to the ballot box.
Reporter Peter Zampa explains how laws vary by state and what's being done to create change.
In some states, people have to wait years after completing a sentence to vote. Florida doesn't restore voting rights until court fines and fees are paid. And in places like Tennessee, the governor restores former felons' voting rights on a case-by-case basis.
Iowa had a similar law. Now, tens of thousands of Iowans have regained access to the ballot box.
Hey, how you doing?
Charles, Peter, great to meet you.
Charles welcomes us into his home in southwest Des Moines, a present
looking much different than his past.
When I got locked up, I was going into my senior year of high school. Me and my best friend robbed a bank. Felt like I needed to rob and steal to get what I needed.
How did prison change you?
It made me open up my eyes that this is not the way that I wanted to live. They got full control of your life.
You regained your freedom in 2011, but you didn't regain all your rights. You couldn't vote. What impact did that have on you?
It's like they don't care about us. We don't matter. Why are you holding people back from voting? Because they're probably going to vote a way that you don't want them to vote. And that's about keeping the control.
Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds restored hope for many in 2020, signing a key executive order. It said unless convicted of homicide or sexual crime, ex-felons who complete their sentences can vote.
Why do you think this fight was so hard in a state like Iowa?
I think sometimes people are punitive.
Mark Stringer is the executive director of the ACLU of Iowa. He says Governor Reynolds' move is a step in the right direction, but it's not permanent. Iowa has seen governors take away and restore voting rights a few times over the last 20 years.
And that created confusion, as you can imagine. A permanent fix would be a constitutional amendment.
How does disenfranchising these ex-felons impact historically marginalized communities?
1 in 10 Black men in Iowa could not vote until this executive order was signed, because 1 in 10 Black men had been formerly convicted of a felony. So there is a disproportionate impact on people of color, in particular Black men.
Why is voting such an important part of the rehabilitation process?
Studies have shown that when people are able to participate in their democracy, they're more a part of their community. They feel like their voice matters again.
Charles Bruton's perspective is back in the mix. Later this year, he'll choose who he wants to lead our nation. He'll cast his ballot, looking to the future.
When I got out, it was just all about me building, like becoming successful and not going back. Having my own house, having a car, having a good job, making a good income, and having a family. So I feel like I beat the odds just doing that.
This societal stigma when it comes to ex-felons, what do you think it's going to take to sort of reverse that course?
You got to keep punching at it. You got to raise up your voice and say, I want a real second chance. And you got to keep fighting for that.
An in-depth look at how the number of people disenfranchised due to felony convictions also varies by state. The Sentencing Project found in 2022 in Alabama and Tennessee, 1 in every 13 adults was barred from voting. And in 5 additional states, 1 in 10 Black people was disenfranchised. Florida led the nation with more than 1 million people banned from voting, often because former inmates could not afford to pay court-ordered sanctions.
Meanwhile, in D.C., Maine, and Vermont, felons never lose their right to vote, even while incarcerated. To take a closer look at laws by state, head to InvestigateTV.com and search voting rights.
From the struggle of completing small tasks,
When I was getting up in the morning, I was dreading just putting on my socks.
to dancing at his daughter's wedding.
I wanted to be there for her. He got me there.
Up next, we take an in-depth look at the device that's giving one man more than just his health back.
More than 6 million Americans have heart failure, and it's one of the most common reasons people age 65 and older go into the hospital. The American Heart Association says heart failure doesn't mean your heart has stopped beating. Rather, your heart becomes weaker over time and is less able to pump the blood your body needs.
The symptoms such as dizziness, shortness of breath, and swelling in the legs can make everyday activities difficult. While medication and lifestyle changes can help, treatment is not always effective, leading some patients and doctors to try new technology.
One man in Omaha, Nebraska said he got his life back thanks to an implanted device.
Reporter Aaron Sullivan shows us how his response to the therapy is offering hope for others suffering from the condition.
That's not going to happen.
Many people see a doctor's appointment as a chore, but these days, Steve Turner is always happy to visit Dr. Scott Lundgren at Nebraska Medicine.
Well, I'm 75 years old, but since Dr. Lundgren got hold of me, I'm about 55.
Months ago, Turner's spirits were not so high.
If I saw a flight of stairs, maybe 5 steps, I was looking for an elevator.
Turner has congestive heart failure.
When I was getting up in the morning, I was dreading just putting on my socks.
His symptoms making everyday tasks a challenge.
Sometimes I wondered if I shouldn't just sit for the entire day and not even bother to get up.
Medications weren't helping, so Dr. Lundgren suggested trying something that was new to both of them.
Oh boy.
It's newer technology.
It was pretty much our last option.
A device implanted through a simple procedure similar to putting in a pacemaker.
What this device is, it's called cardiac contractility modulation, or CCM. So what it does is it provides electrical impulses to the heart during a particular part of the heartbeat.
Turner agreed, becoming the first patient at Nebraska Medicine to receive the device. He says within a couple of weeks,
it's giving me energy.
The changes were astonishing.
It's given me a new look on life, a total day and night to day.
He's back to working on his rental home, which he almost sold before the procedure.
In the last couple of months, I've been up in the attic running wire. I've been tearing down lath and plaster. I've been ripping up floor carpets. I've been painting rooms, been plastering rooms, you name it. And I look forward to doing it. And when I'm done at the end of the day, it seems like I still have some energy left.
The sweetest reward for Turner was this.
Our daughter was getting married in California, and my goal was to walk her down the aisle. I wanted to be there for her. He got me there. In fact, he not only got me there, but he got me dancing there too.
During their father-daughter dance, he surprised her by recording himself singing, all without running out of breath.
There's nothing to it.
All Turner does to maintain the device is charge it once a week.
A couple of hours out of the week on a Sunday, and that's it.
Turner encourages other eligible patients to consider the option, which he says should give him 10 to 15 more years with his family.
I will say there's a downside to this, though. My wife now realizes I'm able to take out the garbage, and so I'm stuck taking out the garbage now, but I can live with that.
What a touching story. The opportunity to be there for his daughter is just amazing.
I mean, healthcare is incredible in so many ways. I mean, look at giving him his life back, really, right? Very nice. All right, doctors say long-term studies show CCM therapy helps improve patients' overall quality of life. This includes walking further without getting tired or short of breath.
And if you want to learn more about CCM therapy, there are dozens of providers across the country. Just head to impulse-dynamics.com.
Up next, rehabbing injured eagles.
We traveled to the Memphis Zoo to see how a team of vets nurse the birds and try to get them back into the wild.
The Memphis Zoo is an award-winning attraction in Tennessee that's heavily involved in animal conservation, and the zoo's on-site animal hospital helps rehab one of the country's greatest symbols.
Reporter Kim Clark explains how injured bald eagles find their way to the zoo in hopes of one day taking flight on their own.
I want to touch your belly.
Dr. Felicia Knightley, senior veterinarian at the Memphis Zoo, has a long list of interesting clients, 3,500 to be exact, and roughly 500 different species.
There is not an animal on grounds that we don't see. We have tarantulas, we have, reptiles, amphibians, birds.
Even birds that do not live at the zoo, in particular bald eagles. For the past 30 years, the Memphis Zoo has taken in injured bald eagles, birds that have gone from the brink of being endangered to flourishing, although still threatened.
I think that we are seeing more animals that do need receive some medical care.
Under U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services permits and in partnership with the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency, the Memphis Zoo has rehabbed over 50 bald eagles, as well as other birds of prey.
They come from all over. I will say the majority come from the west half of, obviously, of Tennessee, and but everywhere from Nashville to here, in all the counties in between.
Bald eagles on display in the Northwest Passage Teton Trek exhibit, Nash, Sioux, and Freedom, are rehab birds deemed unreleasable.
I will say that 2 of them have significant wing injuries. The third is just a little bit impaired. And so his ability to hunt was kind of questionable, because you certainly don't want to send them back out to fail. I want to set them up to succeed back in the wild.
The clinic has 3 birds currently undergoing rehab and evaluation. Dr. Knightley is confident at least one of them will be released soon, while another is still questionable, and the third will be going to a home on the West Coast.
She is very amenable to people waiting on her. We want to make sure they're in good health from the perspective of nutrition, from the perspective of being able to fly, being able to hunt. In a perfect world, they would all be releasable, and there's nothing better than watching a release. When they've come to you and they're broken, and you've been there and you've fixed them, and you take them out there, and they open that crate door, and you see this animal, this majestic bird, fly away, there's nothing better. That's your job. That's your whole, it makes it all worth it.
Dr. Knightley says when the eagles are healthy enough, they are usually released close to where they were found.
She says this is so the eagles are familiar with the area and they know where to look for resources such as food and water.
And that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Thanks for watching.
Next time on Investigate TV Plus, they fought to keep our country safe, but tens of thousands of veterans now live on the streets.
How many times in your life have you been homeless?
3 now. No. That involuntarily 3.
An in-depth look at veteran homelessness and a potential solution popping up around the country.